Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast. You're about to listen to a little bit of our primetime podcast that we recorded this week. Make sure to go to Blog Talk Radio / Most Valuable Podcast for our full-length podcast that you can go ahead and download. I hope you enjoy it. I know me and Brandon did recording it. But Brandon, we are going to move on into something that we don't do very much this time of year unless there's a big story. We're moving back into college basketball for a little bit before we go back into football. And there was a story that came out this week where it was Thad Matta no longer will be the men's basketball coach at the Ohio State University. Athletic director Gene Smith saying this about the situation, and I quote, "I felt comfortable after the season when I sat down with Thad that we had a plan, but recruiting is a major part of it, and we weren't winning the recruiting battles. As we started talking about it Friday, the flow of the conversation took me to the realization, as I said to him, this might be the time we make a leadership change. And he agreed." End quote. My thing to that, and I am sorry if you are sensitive ears, but fuck that shit. That is not like, that is the biggest piece of horse shit that I've ever heard. That I have ever heard. And this situation, we are going to get into who they're going to look for. But before we get into that, I just kind of have to vent a bit. And I'm not even an Ohio State Buckeye fan. I am an Illinois Fighting Illini fan. I kind of hate the Ohio State Buckeyes because really in 2004, 2005, we would have had a perfect season, perfect regular season because, you know, the Tar Heels still beat us, but we would have had a perfect regular season if it wasn't for you guys. So really I should hate you. Really I should not be this angry. But I read this quote, Brandon, and I go, do you have any respect for this man? For this man? For this team, for this program? Just fire him. If you want him out the door, just fire him. Be a man. However, I look at this and I'm like, that's the cowardly way out. Kind of looking across the table. Hey, Brandon, you know, the podcast is going great and all, and we're just not winning in the ratings like we want to. I think it's time you'd look at me and go, Ricky, fuck you. You would look at me and say that if I said that to you. So I look at this and my vent is now over, but I just think that this is the worst thing that the AD Gene Smith could do. And this is not a mutual agreement. This is Thad Matta being fired by Ohio State.
You feel better?
I do. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just got it off my chest. I think that a coach that's been there for 13 years and has a 73% winning percentage overall and a 65% winning percentage in the conference deserves a little bit more respect than what was showed to him.
So let's take a real quick look at a little bit of the coaching record for Thad Matta, and this goes back to 2013. 2013 till now. 25-10, 24-11, 21-14, and this past season, which was not as strong, went 17-15. Before that, seasons of 29-8, 31-8, 34-3, 34-3, 35-4. 29-8. I mean, we're talking good seasons. So, a guy who's been a staple there for a very long time, a guy who's been successful his entire career, wherever he's gone, Butler, Xavier, Ohio State. He's been successful. And I think it's odd. And you can't say that, getting rid of him is like getting rid of a Nick Saban, because it's not. But at the same time, could you compare it to a guy who's been there for this long? Okay, so let's say, and again, my comparison may be wrong. I may be picking a wrong guy, but I'll stay in the same conference.
Okay.
Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo has a couple of bad years, bad seasons. Then do you decide, okay, you're going to go and make a leadership change? Tom Izzo, gone. Unless Tom Izzo wants to leave, you don't get rid of Tom Izzo. That's just what I'm saying. And maybe Thad Matta is not there, and he's probably not, so probably bad comparison, but I really tried.
I don't think it's that bad of a comparison.
But I still think, though, for a guy who had as much success as he had, and then for I almost said the general manager. I'm forgetting that we're talking college. For the AD to then come out and kind of make it seem like the AD, everything's fine after the season, they're all on the same page, and then for the athletic director, basically, to make it seem like Thad Matta is the one who's in the wrong, not on the same page and everything like that. It's very important at any press conference, any time you're being quoted for anything, choose your word, well, really anytime. Even if you're not being quoted, choose your words wisely. And the way that he chose his words there made it seem like he was on his own page.
And
Thad Matta didn't think that he was on that. He did not think that Thad Matta was on the same page as him. And I think that at the end of the day, it may have gone, and we're not quite sure, where Thad Matta said, you know what, I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this anymore if we're going to go in this direction. Clearly the guy knows what he's doing. Clearly he knows what he's doing. And you know what? Do you have every once in a while have a down season? Even the good teams, even the good coaches. Yes, they do, but the good ones bounce back. And I think that it's interesting that Matta's not being given the opportunity to bounce back.
Now, the thing that I want to say is when I came out with my rant, I'm not saying that the choice to fire Thad Matta, the choice is not what's wrong. It's what you were saying. It's how this went about. If you were going to fire Thad Matta, you should have done it 2 months ago. 2 months ago when you could have found a quality candidate. Now all the candidates that were out there have found jobs for this next season. It's not fair to your program. It's not fair to your players who have already decided to commit here. It's not fair to Thad Matta and his assistants. Now, if I'm an assistant at Ohio State, I'm thinking, shoot, am I going to have a job next year? Am I going to have a job? Or is someone else going to come in and kind of tell me that you have been relieved? And I just think the kind of how Gene Smith has orchestrated this is in poor taste and isn't the right move to go with. And with the analogy that you used or the comparison with Tom Izzo, I'm not completely against it. The only big difference is Tom Izzo has made the NCAA tournament since 97, 98.
Yeah.
Like with Thad Matta, the reason why Ohio State was even mulling this is because, like you said, the recruiting hasn't been there. Fine, case in point. You could also go back and say, for the last 2 years, we haven't been in the NCAA tournament. We were in the NIT in 2016, made it to the second round. This past year in 2017, we didn't even make it to the NIT or even the NCAA tournament. So you've been out of the tournament for 2 years. You haven't gotten, I would say, those players as you look back, the Greg Odens, the D'Angelo Russells, the guys that are going high in the draft either. That also comes in with recruiting. If they're not coming in recruiting, you're not going to get them to go to the NBA draft. I said NFL draft earlier, pardon me, NBA draft. And these are all valid reasons. I just think how everything went down isn't fair to Thad Matta. There's also the health concern also. And in his exiting press conference, he did mention how the things that he had to go through, how he even mentioned how there was after games, he would need help actually getting his pants off after the games. That's how much like pain he was in from his back surgeries. And all these compounded together, you can put them together and say the reasons are there. It's just how this all went down is not fair to Thad Matta. But now we switch the question over to the big ultimate one, and it's who are they going to get? And the first guy who came to my mind was, I'm like, John Gross. John Gross could be a guy that could step in and be a smooth transition because he was an assistant under Thad Matta at Ohio State. You can come in, you wouldn't lose, you could save recruits maybe because it's that same kind of system as Thad Matta. However, I look, John Gross, now the head coach of the Akron Zips, unless he's going to back out of that contract, you're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle. But the one thing I want to start with, Brandon, is I sent out a tweet via the MVP account when we were coming up with this story on Twitter. And I asked Ohio State fans, I said, let us know who you think should take over the OSU basketball job. And we'd feature some replies on the Primetime Podcast. And one reply we got was from at ARM9100, AMO. And he said, could you imagine how mad Florida fans would be if Ohio State got Billy Donovan? I would love it. We'd have both their natty winning coaches, referring to also Urban Meyer, who's in football. And I thought about it. And I went, okay, Billy Donovan, now in the NBA with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Really, that's kind of a sticky situation with Kevin Durant left. Now with Russell Westbrook, are people like players going to want to come to play with Russell Westbrook? I'll ask you this from Amo's tweet. What would you say the odds are that Ohio State would be able to court Billy Donovan away from the NBA to become the coach of the Buckeyes?
I think that would probably be tough. I think that it would be a tough move to be able to try and get him. He's in the NBA, and I have not. I mean, I personally don't follow the NBA as closely as you probably do because you are on a podcast about it. But I haven't heard anything about Billy Donovan, like, at all in a long time.
I mean, they'd be interested, but
I mean, there's a lot of guys who would be interested, but is it that they're going to come? I mean, why would he leave the NBA in an NBA salary? Especially he has Westbrook. If Westbrook left, yeah, I could see him leaving.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he would do that. So I just don't think the likelihood is strong. I don't think there's a strong likelihood that happens. If it did happen, he's right. It'd be hilarious. But I don't think that it's going to. I think that would be a very far out, reaching for the stars type move. But hey, Ohio State, it is such a very pristine and prestigious school. I think that, for the right person, it probably wouldn't take much. I mean, salary-wise, at this point, they'd have to be offering a pretty good salary to come at this point in the season. There isn't season going on, but at this point in the offseason, I think that they're in a sticky situation. Ohio State is. But one guy who came to my mind, Tom Crean. And
he doesn't have a job yet.
He doesn't have a job yet. He's coached in the Big Ten.
Knows the
conference. He was with Indiana. He took Indiana out of the slums and brought them to, Sweet 16s, but never farther. And I think that Tom Crean, though, could be an interesting one because of the fact that he has no job. He's been in the Big Ten. He has found success, probably not in as much as Ohio State would like, but right now their options are very limited, I think, of guys who would actually come. I mean, they could say, hey, I want to go for, so-and-so who's got the best job anywhere else, but are they going to come? No. Are they set in their job already? Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of guys, let's be honest. Let's go through a list of a couple of people right here. Chris Holtman, Butler.
I was going to bring him up.
Signed already, though.
Here's the thing,
but hold on. Let me go with what I'm going.
So we got Holtman.
So you got Holtman. You've got Chris Mack from Xavier. You've got Bob Huggins from West Virginia. You've got these guys, but I'm going to let you say what you're going to say, and I know what you're going to say, is that they're already kind of set. They're moving along. They're getting ready for the season to kind of get started and for all of that to get into swing as before not too long, they're going to be doing that. It's a really, really bad time to be looking for a head coach.
And like I said, right now Ohio State is kind of up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Like, they did this to themselves. This should have been done 2 months ago. Then we would have been able to find somebody. Like, Ohio State would have been able to find somebody to fill that job. Realistically, I think there are 3 candidates that they look at. And the thing with Billy Donovan is I don't think he leaves Oklahoma City. Give it one more year with the whole Westbrook experiment, and things might change. I mean, this was his second year with the Thunder, goes to the conference finals with Durant and Westbrook. The Warriors beat them after the Thunder were up 3-1. Billy Donovan was 1 win away from going to the NBA Finals in his first season as a coach. That, to me, if I'm Billy Donovan,
to Steve Kerr, he knows how that is, right?
If I'm Billy Donovan, I'm looking at it going, I know I can get to the finals. I was almost there. I was 1 win away with 2 superstars. So really, I know that my coaching, and that's the thing. Durant left, and look at that, first round, and they're done. Let's see what happens in Oklahoma City. The 3 coaches, one is a non-realistic option, but he will be the number 1 on their list and say no. The next 2, I think, are going to be the 2 and 3, with Tom Crean kind of sliding in there at 1. Tom Crean's the obvious option because, like you said, he doesn't have a job, doesn't have anything else to do. The only thing with Tom Crean, I wonder if they look at him and go, well, we just fired a guy because he couldn't make the tournament. Tom Crean didn't make the tournament with Indiana. However, it was only 1 year. He'd been to the tournament 2 times before with them, but it's only been there 4 times overall with the Hoosiers.
Let me jump in really quick with Tom Crean, though, too, is the fact that he had good recruiting classes.
Yogi Ferrell, Victor Oladipo.
And if the problem with Ohio State basketball was recruiting, maybe Crean and the athletic director, maybe there's a marriage there that could happen. Maybe.
Indiana this year alone is going to have at least 2 players drafted in the NBA with OG Anunoby and Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant was going to come out last year, came back to Indiana. Those are 2 players alone, plus Victor Oladipo in the NBA right now, Yogi Ferrell in the NBA right now. So that is the positive side to Tom Crean. The other 3, the guy I think they go after seriously, but he ultimately says no, is Greg Marshall. I think they try to sway him away from Wichita State. I think he says no because Wichita State just moved to the ACC or the AAC.
Yeah.
They're making moves to a better conference than the Missouri Valley or the Ohio Valley, whatever Valley conference they were in. They're moving up in the world. So why would Greg Marshall leave Wichita State after they had just moved to the AAC? I almost said ACC again. The AAC. He's the one I think they go after hard. He says no, swats them away. Holtman and Mack, though, are interesting because both of those coaches have what you would want to entice one of those coaches. They're having success at a lower level school, and you're giving them the option to take that one step up on the ladder and move up into a Power 5. Just like Thad Matta did. He was at Butler, he was at Xavier, moved up into that next level. How many coaches do we see move up to that next level? The only thing that I think will play against them and why both of those coaches will say no is because of where we are in the offseason. If this was 2 months ago, maybe Holtman or Mack entertain the idea. But because we are sitting here in June with the ball rolling already and, off season's kind of going and you're putting together that recruiting class and you're kind of getting things ready for your off-season practices, I think both of those would say, you know what? I've kind of thought about it. I'm going to have to respectfully decline. And then ultimately Ohio State's going to go, well, I guess Tom Crean's there. They're going to say, I guess, because they're going to look for other options and then settle on Tom Crean, even though I wouldn't say that's really a settling option because I think Tom Crean can bring a lot to this job.
So Mac, the interesting thing that I've read there is that he might be holding out for a different job, Louisville, when it possibly comes open, because it will come open. So that's kind of interesting there. And I think the thing with Holtman, it's for me that I can't get past, which I should be able to get past, because it's Ohio State, is that he just signed that big extension. Yeah. And I guess I look at it as, he seems like a guy. Butler, when you talk about Butler, when you talk about what he's been able to do there and stuff like that, he seems excited. He seems happy to be there.
But we have seen coaches before take extensions and then back out.
We certainly have, especially too. Butler at Ohio State. That's just kind of where it is.
Even look at, we saw this past offseason was the head coach from Winthrop takes the job at UMass after right before they were going to announce him, he goes, yeah, I'm going to kind of have to back out of this. I'm going back to Winthrop. And then he went back to Winthrop. So we've even seen that.
We've seen it. We've seen it before. It's happened before. It will happen again.
I wouldn't count out anything.
But it's
anything is possible. But there are things like Greg Marshall, Billy Donovan, where I'm like, nope, not going to happen.
Well, at this point, Ohio State, they've got to have a coach. They've got to have a coach. They've got to have someone to be talking to their players, to be getting them ready, to be getting everything ready, developing a staff, all this stuff. I just don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they were thinking about the timing on this. I don't know what they were thinking about, this will be a good idea. We'll be able to find somebody. But you don't want to find somebody. Ohio State basketball hasn't thrived on having just somebody. They've thrived on having somebody who's successful, who's good, who comes with a good track record. And I'm not saying that these guys don't, but two of them have jobs. One of them doesn't. But at the same time, is he the number one that you want? Ohio State's not going to get the number one that they want because they have screwed themselves over. That's the problem. But you know what? I don't think at the end of the day, if they got Tom Crean, that'd be bad. I don't. Because I think that Tom Crean was able to do a lot at Indiana. Not enough. But who's to say that he doesn't change it with Ohio State? The people going to Ohio State weren't going to Indiana. Ohio State was getting a little bit better, I think, certainly for a while, quality talent than Indiana was. Indiana's good, but not Ohio State good. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying here? But I think that getting Tom Crean, if that's who they got, would not be a bad move. I think it'd be a good move. And it's about one of the only moves that they can play right now on a guy who doesn't have a job.
I got one more coach I want to throw your way, and this is what we'll end with. This is a wild card, like a throw out there. This is the wildest of the cards. And it's not even that much of a, it's not a Billy Donovan level wild card, but it's a wild card I want to throw your way. He's in the NBA right now. Would you, if you're Ohio State, go, you know what? With the kind of situation that I see with the Bulls, do I try to even make the phone call to Fred Hoiberg of, let's try to convince him he would? There are so many analysts that say he would do better going back to college. The Bulls situation is kind of a shit situation right now. If you're Gene Smith, do you even make that phone call to take that chance?
Yeah, I do. Because what's he going to tell me? No. The answer I already figured I was going to get.
Do you think he'd say? Do you think there's any chance Fred Hoiberg would entertain that option and leave the Bulls for Ohio State?
Yes. Have you seen the Bulls play?
I did. That's why I brought it up, Brandon.
Yeah, I think
I know it's an NBA paycheck, but have you seen the Bulls?
But you know what? At the same time, though, too, is that what would be interesting is Hoiberg would certainly be saying, "Well, how much are you giving me?
I'm the mayor of Columbus.
I'm going to be coming. I'm going to be coming at a time that's not ideal for anyone to be coming in and coach." And I think it would be real interesting because he's making an NBA salary right now. He could be making an NBA salary if he goes to Ohio State because they're going to overpay for whoever they get because they need somebody. So why not overpay someone who's going to be really, really good and who's had that track record in college and everything like that? So Hoiberg would be a real interesting one. But again, too,
Ohio State's probably sitting there like, why didn't the Bulls just effing fire him? Why didn't they fire him?
If I'm going inside the mind of... And if I'm the athletic director at Ohio State, I'm making any call I can
kind of going into scatter mode or scramble mode right now.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is, though, too, is that everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, because you don't have anybody right now, and that's really the big thing for it. But before we're going to move on into football, before we do that, any last things that you think we didn't hit that we should hit on the Ohio State job?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Well, this is where, again, we turn the conversation on to you guys. Let us know down below in the comment section, what do you think of the Thad Matta firing? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It was a firing. It wasn't a mutual agreement between anyone. Gene Smith fired Thad Matta. What do you think of the firing down below? And also, Ohio State fans, who do you want to see get this job, and who do you think will be the coach for the Indiana Hoosiers? I think Brandon and I are both in agreement that they're going to end up settling for Tom Crean because he's the one that does not have a job right now. Well, thank you guys for checking out this video from the Primetime Podcast. If you want to check out more, click right over here. The video's right over here. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.